Alright, so here in this second tutorial we finished creating, making all of our helpers with unique names, and you're probably a little confused as to why we've created structures like we have with some of these helpers. So that's what we're going to take a look at now, is exactly how and why we're going to be doing some of the things that we're doing. Alright, so let's get the IK set up so that this is going to make a little more sense. Let's go ahead and set this back to all so that we can select on all objects. And I'm going to select on the leg object right, not the helper, not the leg base, the actual geometry here. And we'll go to animation, IK solvers, high solver. But one of the things that I want to do is I want to add this because we're going to be adding a lot of them. So I want to have this added as a shortcut here in my quad menus, since it's something that I'm going to be using a lot. So I'm going to go ahead and let's do this. Customize user interface, quads, and I think that right in here would be a good place for it. So click over here and type HI, and so we want the excuse me, the history independent IK solver. This is the one that we're looking for. So I'll go ahead and drag this over here, hit save, let it overwrite, yes, and close. So select and high solver. And what we are going to pick here is going to be this dummy helper. So let's make sure that we see that it's picking the right ankle. Click, and what we should see is we should still be able to, and I can't move the foot, so we have actually, by moving this, why is this not moving for us? And yep, I neglected to reset this up. There's a certain aspect I forgot to reset up for you guys. So right ankle is the dummy helper. So we've added our IK, and we see that if we move the IK helper, that the foot is working the way that we wanted. If we move this helper, we move the top of the IK. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the motion panel, and we can come down here. We can see that we've got some options. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to bring this in, let's say 10. Okay, so it's not so domineering, but I can still easily select it if I need to. So we're going to do the same thing for the other one. Remember that we want to select it to the left ankle dummy helper, so select on the leg, high solver, and it's going to pick the left ankle. So there we go. Size is 10. Okay, now I'll go ahead and I want you to pick on this foot, and you'll notice that you can't move it. Okay. So I want you to pick on it. I want you to go to the motion panel. I want you to open up Assign Controller, pick on Position, then come up here and pick on Position XYZ, and do that for both of them, and you'll see that now we can move the foot. Okay, this is what I should have did when I was resetting the file for you guys to work from. This is where, if you were to make your own character, and you know, if you're following along with me and you're making your own character, this is the state that you would find your object in. So we'll go ahead and we're going to leave this like we have it for right now. It's important that that we do this, and you'll see why here in a minute. Okay, so we have our IK for the leg set up. Now what we want to do is we want this. I'm going to set this to helpers again so I can only pick on the helpers. What we want to have happen, because if we what we want to have happen is we want to be able to take this object right here, and when we rotate this object, we want for our IK here to rotate with it. So what we're going to do, how we're going to achieve this, we're going to select on this guy. We're going to hit Control V to make a copy of it. Okay, and I'm going to go ahead and rename this right now to underscore IK. Hit enter. I'm going to come over here to our modify, and I'm going to shrink this down, and I'm going to color it red. So we have a very clear distinction as to what that guy is. Okay, the way that this is going to be linked is this point, which is the base of our foot, so the shin. This guy is linked to the shin. It's a part of the chain. Then we have the IK, which moves everything at the moment. But what we want, I'm going to click on this guy and hit unlink selection, or we can get it from here if you did that with me. So now when I move the IK, we see that the IK helper here is not moving, the one that we copied. So we select it and we unlink it. It now is no longer linked to anything. And what we're going to do is we're going to select on our IK, and we're going to link the IK to our new helper here. So if we select on the helper, we move the object. We move the IK, we move the leg. And now this guy is going to be linked to our helper here, so that if this rotates, we see that it's actually rotating the foot, or it's rotating the IK. And now this guy, select and link, is going to be linked out here. So if we rotate this one, they all move. Okay, so no matter how these guys rotate, we're going to get those corrections with the IK solver. So let's go ahead and do it again over here. So we're select on this guy and we'll hit Control V, and I'm going to go ahead and rename it right away, underscore IK. And we're going to now shrink it down. I just want to make sure. Let's just go straight to 4. And so we're on to IK. We'll go ahead and set this straight to 4, and I'm going to color it red. Okay, so now I'm going to hit unlink selection, so that if I move my IK, this guy is not following. And now my IK solver, this object, gets linked to my new red IK dummy. So if I select on my red dummy, everything moves. And now this guy gets linked to the helper, and this helper, the ball helper, gets linked to the toe. So if we rotate, and if we rotate, they all go. Okay, now what we want to create here is we want to create the effect that for the banking. So you'll notice that these guys have their own pivots around the corners, of the heel and at the base of the heel. So what we're going to do is this. I want you to select on the toe helper, and we're going to link this guy back here. Okay. And now this guy is going to get linked over here to this corner, and now this corner is going to get linked to the middle. Okay. Now why did we do that? All right. Well, let's follow the hierarchy here. The red helper in here is linked to this guy, so that when this rotates, this one follows. The ball helper is linked to the toe helper, so that when the toe helper rotates, those follow. The toe helper is linked outside here to the right helper, so that the right heel left bank, so that when this rotates, we see that everything is rotating on an angle like so. When this guy rotates, we see that it's all rotating around there, the whole foot. And finally, this guy, the heel base, when he rotates, the whole foot pivots up and down. So that's the reasoning behind it. So let's go ahead and do it again. So this guy, and it really doesn't matter which way that it goes. So for example, we can go ahead and take this one here. This one's going to get linked here, and then this one is going to get linked to the middle. So again, if we follow the hierarchy, what we should see is this guy is rotating him, the toe is rotating the ball and the ankle, the corner is pivoting the foot outside like that, this corner is going to pivot the foot to that side, and this heel base is going to pivot the whole foot up and down. So if we move the heel base, the whole foot is going to follow. Okay. So now we have some interesting structures. I'm going to go back to all here. So now what we're going to do, so we have our dummies and the pivots and everything, the linking and where everything is set up is working really well. Well, now we need to finish our IK chains, namely being I'm going to take this guy, and what we're going to do is this is going to create an IK chain. So I'm going to select on our foot object here, and we'll go to High Solver, and we'll pick on this guy, and we see that. Let's go ahead and shrink this down. We see that it makes the IK helper. We see that that's moving, and we see that it makes it right in the middle of where this pivot is. So what we're going to do is we're going to link this pivot to this helper. Okay. So now let's see what happens if we rotate. Okay, so you see the IK is following, but what we're not seeing is the foot moving. Well, if we don't want to link this guy, because if we link it, it's going to basically ruin the structures that we have here. So what we're going to do, and this is where things were when we first started. This guy is going to get, this guy is going to not be linked, but it's going to get a position constraint on it. So let me show you why this is important. So, because what should happen when this guy rotates, the foot should come up, and we're not getting that right now. So let's go ahead and talk about this. So we see that we have position XYZ on this guy. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select on my foot, and I'm going to apply. Let's go to animation constraints. We're going to do a position constraint, and we're going to position constraint it out here to the right ankle joint. Okay, so now it's position constrained. So whenever we move, let's go ahead and select on this guy. So we see that it's now position constrained to our IK, so that when we rotate, this guy's going to follow. The foot's going to now follow. It's now attached to it. It's constrained to the position of this helper, so the base of the foot. So we'll do the same thing. Animation constraints, position constraint, and it's going to be position constraint to the left ankle. So again, if we rotate, the foot is following. Okay, so now select the foot, high solver, select the toe. Set the thing down here. And it looks like our gizmo. So I'm going to alt align, get that guy back here to the center. Okay. Now I'm just going to link this guy here. And now what I need is I need the ability. So we see that this guy now is rotating the whole foot. This guy, if we pick on this helper, is rotating from the ball, but we now need for the toe to be able to stay flat when we rotate the ball. So we need another IK solver on the toe, and we need at least two objects in the chain to do this with. And what we're basically going to do is I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to hit Control V, and I'm going to call this toe IK, and we're going to shrink this down. Let's go down to 2, and I'm going to color this red. And this toe IK is going to get linked to the toe object. So if we pick on our toe object and go high solver and then pick on the IK, shrink this down, what we should now see when we rotate our helper is the toe is staying stationary. If we rotate this guy, everything is working out. Okay, so let's recreate this over here. Okay, so we've got our 3 IK helpers. Okay, so we know excuse me, that this guy, if it rotates, is bringing the toes with it. So high solver, we pick the toe. It's centered up perfectly with this guy. So our IK is going to be linked to this helper. And let's go ahead and resize this. Control V on him, underscore IK, and let's shrink this down to 2, color it red, and this guy is going to get linked to the toe here. So now when we select on the toe object and add the high solver, and now shrink this down, when we pick on this, we get the foot rotating, and when we select on this one and rotate, we get the whole foot rotating. So now let's take a look what happens when we rotate these. Okay, we get some very weird things going on. not really rotating the way we would hope. So let's fix this. I'm going to go in and select on these IKs, and for the right here under solver properties, I want to switch this to IK goal for each of them. Okay, now it looks like what's happening, we can see that this guy is rotating correctly, but our IK solver, this the red toe IK, neither one of these are following this guy the way that they should. So what I'm going to do is link this here, and we see that it's now following correctly, because remember, this is looking at the child for the IK. So even though the IK, and if we move the IK, why is the IK not moving? That's weird. Did we get rid of it? IK goal. So that's rotating fine. That's rotating fine. That's fine. Okay, so there we go. Something broke there. Oh yeah, duh. We'd get rid of this. This guy is linked to here. We have a problem because it needs to be linked to the toe. So let's link this back to the toe. Okay. And we'll do our high solver again. And we can move this up. So that's weird. I mean, basically, I think what it was when we copied, maybe we had something weird. Let's ensure that, yeah, that works. So I'm going to get rid of the IK, ensure that this guy is linked here, add the high solver to our IK helper, check the rotations, it's rotating fine, it's rotating fine, and we can move this up and down as needed. Alright, so that's definitely weird. Apparently that one doesn't need to be set to IK goal. Start joint worked out fine. So let's just one more time just run through and make sure that. Alright, so those rotations are working out. Again, if we, so now we just need to link this pivot point, because if we rotate that, we see the toes are not, they're not coming with. We pick on that, toe picks up slowly, and this guy is, I mean, it can be a nice effect to get that automatic bending of the toes, but that's not really what we want to have. So what we're going to do is this guy basically is going to need to be our IK. We'll link this to the heel, and what we should see is that comes up. We can still rotate the toe. We can still rotate it up like so. This guy's going to go that way. When this one rotates, it rotates off to the side. And this guy rotates off to the side. So we have our feet. I think we got to do this one too. Yep. So this guy gets linked to the center. So we can pick the foot up. We can rotate. We can rotate. We can bank. And we can bank. Right? So, did we ever link? Yep. So now we have very typical standard setup here for the feet. I'm going to go into my top view and wireframe, and I'm going to go ahead and create me a rectangle around this foot, like so. And it's enabling viewport. Make this guy a little thicker. I'll bring the sides down to 3. Maybe corner it a little bit. Now what I want to have for the way I want this foot control to work is, and it looks like this guy, so he got moved a little bit, which we definitely do not want. Okay, so that's back at 0. That guy's at 0, but it's not. That's where it should be. This guy should be here. Okay, so that's the importance of ensuring that when you make adjustments and you make moves, like we've been doing, doing these rotations, ensuring that things are working the way that they should. Well, it's important that you always undo. Okay, so might even make this a little bigger. It's a little easier to pick on. The important thing here is that the pivot point of this guy, because if we rotate this, right, nobody's foot can rotate like that. That the pivot point is lined up with this guy. So what I'm going to do is go into Effect Pivot Only, and if we take a look at, let's go to View. So what we want basically is we want the Y position, so just 4.12. I'm going to copy this, okay, and then with effect pivot still on, I'm going to pick on our new helper, and then for the Y, I'll go ahead and paste that so we see the pivot point is moved to that point. So when it rotates from the pivot point of the heel, which is what we want. So I'm going to go ahead and just copy this over, and we'll align, so Alt A, and we see that if we align it just straight away on everything, it pops over perfectly. So there's the pivot point. And now the last thing we got to do is link the heel base to the helper, or to the rectangle. So now to move the whole foot, all we have to do is move our rectangle, and this rectangle is going to contain the scripted controllers that's going to allow us to animate the feet and all the different rotational poses that we have for it so far. So we now have a very rudimentary rig that doesn't have a lot of direct or scripted controllers for us to manipulate, but I mean, as you see, it's just a matter of, I mean, we could call it a day right now and just know, that whenever we want to animate the foot like so, we've got to come in and actually pick on that helper. But that's what the next video is going to be for, where we're going to start looking at the code behind making the script and creating the sliders and everything that's going to help us to drive the feet. So I hope that that this made sense. I hope that you understand kind of why we did the linking structure the way we did. It's really the only way to get this kind of rotational controls, the way that the foot should react. It's really kind of the only way to do this. So anyway, I hope you learned something, and in the next video we're going to look at writing the code to actually generate our scripted controllers for us to easily animate this guy. So I'll see you next time.